Hello and welcome back to another episode of Power Rangers Lore. Today we're going to talk about none other than the great sculptor himself, Finister. Now, if you do not know who Finister is, he is appeared in the first episode of Money from Power Rangers, Day of the Dumpster, along with Rita, Babu, Goldar, Squat, and had been freed after 10,000 years being sealed away with them. And he is basically a anthropomorphic Scottish Terrier alien. He walks on two legs. He is old, wise, scientist / wizard who created monsters and weapons for Rita and basically any other evil space alien who wanted him. He is known as the Demon Artist in the comic books. Now, he is from the home planet of... Now, I'm not going to pronounce this because it's only written in comic books, so I'm not going to do this, but it's going Clay Isios, Clay Decios. Either way, it's called Clay Decios or something like that. Clay. It has to do with clay. Yes, he's a sculptor Clay. Yeah, we're doing a pun on his home planet. Now, he is essentially an artist who grew bored on his quiet existence on his home planet, and he saw beauty in the things that were grotesque and unwanted by people, and started creating monstrous beast statues and terrorized villages with fires. Now, this caused a lot of pain and suffering. He kind of took pleasure because people were like, oh, you finally recognize all this stuff. Now, his things didn't necessarily come to life at this point, but he basically would put these monster statues out there and like light fires and stuff like that. Now, his wife, Pelpara, is one of those anguished townsfolk, and she's horrified to discover that her husband's role in these tragedies and basically threatened to expose him. He gets angry and basically knocks her back. They struggle, and her head hits against the table, and she dies. Rita would appear at this point, take advantage of his guilt, twist his mind, and give him some magical clay that would make his creations come to life. And he'd be basically on the offer like, hey, if you do this, you become my monster maker. In his free time, he would create replicas of his wife from clay to bring her back from the dead. However, her will for him to stop him continue on living would lead him to basically savagely dismember his creations again and again, and he would just try again, repeating this. It's basically an endless cycle of his own agony. Now, this is all from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2017 annual, and it's a little short story in there, and it's pretty good. It just shows more in depth of Finister. Now, that is just from the comic book. Things have changed from there a little bit, but that's a little bit of backstory we're going there. Now, he was once the helper of Rita Repulsa, who created many of her weapons and her monsters, and basically was the major creator of the putties. Now, he would be caught again with the rest of the crew and thrown in imprisonment for 10,000 years in the dumpster-like container. It would later be freed by none other than two astronauts who landed on the moon and go, oh, what's that? Let's open it up immediately. Because they've never seen any type of horror movie ever to release some unspeakable evil. Now, he is primarily responsible for creating the monsters and putties that battle the Rangers throughout the entire time. I don't believe he ever, for the first season, came out of the from like the Moon Palace to like do anything. He was basically just like looking at his creations. He loved his creations. He basically saw them as his own babies at times, and would send them to do battle, cooking them up in a special oven kill machine type of thing. It's really complicated what it is, but his own little workshop and basic is the Monster-matic. Now, he is not only skilled in supplying monsters as well as henchmen for his leaders, but he's also known for skilled alchemists and potion makers, similar to Babu, which is kind of conflicting there. I think he probably learned from Babu, and he is also an inventor. Now, he supplied all kinds of potions and gadgets, and he was extremely brilliant and somewhat all-knowing, basically providing wisdom to both Rita and Zed as time went on. Now, it is implied by Goldar that Finister thought of using the Crystal of Nightmares was a good idea, but Goldar kind of denies it, calling him his overgrown rat. Basically, there's a little rivalry between the two going on there, and it probably doesn't think, well, Goldar is a warrior straightforward in the battle. He's always there on the front lines. He probably doesn't like Finister, who's always in the background creating these monsters and never getting his hands dirty. Probably not really understanding the whole process of what happened with his wife. Now, when Lord Zed would return, Finister would suddenly become more obsolete. Zed made his own monsters. Though he kind of, after Pariah Fish Head is destroyed, Finister comments that he could have done better. he laments on his current status in the villains, basically missing the good old days with Rita. He kind of feels obsolete. Well, like, what is he going to do now? I have nothing going on here. And this would go on for a little while, until one day he's basically in his workshop, twiddling his thumbs, lamenting back to the good old days when he was like worth something. And Lord Zed enters his sleep of oblivion to regain his powers and basically just doing like the Odin sleep per se. And he bemoans his lack of relevance at now, and he's like, oh, woe is me, Finister, old boy, what have I become? Man, I miss Rita. When none other than, Rita would appear in a small little form and be like, hey, I have an idea. Now, she's snuck back on the moon to basically go about her plans, and he kind of just plasters her off at first by hearing voices in his head, but soon realizes it's really her and goes, oh my gosh, and uses the potion to return to her proper size, and then uses one of his devices to do some other things for her here and there. Now he declares her intention to claim her own power, and so Finister can struggle as a monster maker. He basically goes, I got nothing better to do, sure, I'll help you, but Rita kind of refuses. He's like, no, like I just need you to recreate a love potion, because he wanted to create this monster army for her so that he could basically do all this stuff. He's got this huge whole collection. He's like, no, I just want a love potion from him completely. He's like, I plan to use it to brainwash Zed into marrying her and to regain her former glory without anyone being able to sabotage her. And Fisher comes up with an idea to use Alpha to trap the Power Rangers as part of Rita's plan to give them to Zed as a wedding gift. When Rita happily accepts, he's like, going, this is a really good plan. What have you been doing? He's like, I've been literally sitting here twiddling my thumbs with nothing but time on my hands, so I have all these different things I can do. Now, enlisting the help of two Z putties, which are putties empowered by Lord Zed, Finister plans to grab Alpha outside of the command center when he goes out to bring life to the desert and sticks a disc in his back, which turns him evil. Now, this is the first time that Finister would appear outside of the Moon Palace. And then he returned back to the Moon Palace where Rita would hug him, and as thanks for, Alpha lures the Power Rangers to the Spectre Theater and basically just messes with the Rangers for a long time. Finister applies a facelift to Rita, which regresses her by 10,000 years to make her more appealing to Lord Zed. But I don't think really anything could really appeal to Lord Zed since he has no flesh on his face. But whatever. Now, a lot of things happen. Some other monsters fight off the Rangers that basically Finster's been sending down there just to deal with the Rangers, keep them occupied in their little trapped state. And Rita goes to Finster to demand more monsters for her wedding while basically getting things going, getting her gifts ready. He creates a whole little crew of monsters to go to the wedding, and he's like, I can probably like super giddy about this at this point. He's like going, whoa, I've never been having any sort of monsters ready at this time. This is amazing. But as per usual, the Rangers escape from the trap right when Rita and Zed toast dry ice at their wedding. The only person really upset at this wedding is none other than Goldar, who's basically going, what the heck just happened? He's so confused, and he's going like, I was like number 2, and now I'm number 3 because of freaking Rita's back as now like in charge of me, and she's incompetent. But Finster's just like going, yay! Now there's some more conflict with the Rangers. They constantly send more monsters down or empower them all. But in the time spending for the wedding gift to arrive, Lord Zed and Rita say, screw it, we're just going to get married right now, and they need none other than a priest. Well, that's where Finster steps in and goes like, oh, I'm going to be the parishioner here, let's go, and begins his wedding ceremony with his monsters as guests as witnesses, and basically he acts as like their overall presiding priest of it all, gets it all done. Now Goldar would pipe up and go like, I object to this wedding, but Rita would shut him down and smack him and the like with the wedding bouquet. And thus the marriage goes on between Lord Zed and Rita. And Finster would basically watch as they go on their honeymoon, riding away on Serpentera to destroy Earth. And he's kind of like waving and going, okay, I did good. I'm back in the good graces. And he's again the primary monster maker once more. Lord Zed's kind of like dull-witted at this point, toned down a lot from his villainy and the like. He's still a bad guy, but he's nowhere near creating his own monsters, and he's hatching these huge plans. Now, little issues in the third series and the Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers miniseries, he's back to make his monsters. He has his love potion also revealed to Goldar, who basically threatens him, and Finster is also surprised as anyone to find, though, that actually Zed did love Rita when Golder basically goes, "You're under a spell," and he's like, "No, no, 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 I actually like her a lot." And Finster's going, "Wait, did the potion work, or did it just enhance the love that was there?" I don't know. Like, he's going, okay. So Finster would later joins Rita in fleeing from the Machine Empire when they begin to assault the Moon Palace, when the Machine Empire steps in and becomes the main antagonist for Zero, and he's not seen for a long time. And he would return later at the end of the series when basically Rita and Zed would return, except Squat and Babu would not, but Goldar would be there. To the Moon Palace, it's under in ruins, and the evil space aliens started operating out of a camper van, essentially. He's turned into, I forgot the show, Breaking Bad. Sorry, it took me a second. I had to pause and go, like, what was the name of the show? He's become Breaking Bad, essentially, but they're not selling methamphetamines. They are just selling monsters and ruin. Yay! However, to show off his gadget skills, he would be the one to create several machines for them, most notably Louis Kaboom, who is the temporary leader of the Machine Empire until Prince Gasket and Arachnius arrive. But he's basically they're an inside man, and essentially that would go on. Now Finster would also create a new wand for Rita, which is absurdly more powerful than the previous one, as it creates a monster too strong that even the Zeo Ultra Zord happens there. And Finster, it doesn't explain how Finster made this new wand, or what he used for all this stuff, but apparently he needs to do it more often because it did a lot of damage. Now he would also still be working for Rita and Zed in Power Rangers in Space, and was present in the battle against the Gold Ranger in the events of Countdown to Destruction. His fate is not revealed until he was essentially hit with the energy wave, and it'd be 20 years later that we discover what actually happened to him. Now, he was not disintegrated like all the others. No, he was purified. Yes, purified, just like Rita and Zed, as well as Divatox. And this is mainly because he was not necessarily a fully evil being. He was not maliciously evil. He's more of like just chaotic and kind of insane because of the death of his wife, and he was just bored out of his mind on the planet that he couldn't see anything. He wanted something different happening. So he wasn't fully evil. He took a lot of fun out of the anguish of others, but he wasn't like pure evil per se. I can't quite justify why he didn't delete, but I'm glad they didn't fully wipe him out. And this is revealed in Soul of the Dragon. And instead of making monsters, now he makes humanoid molds, and he's visited by Tommy, Oliver, and several others to find out the nature of a crystal and the like through the whole series. And he apologized for his past deeds while reassuring Tommy that he'd be able to save his son before turning to dust and marking the end of the Master Sculptor. Basically, he sacrificed himself to make sure that things fix themselves out there. So in the end, he became the hero. Now, in another universe, known as the comic book universe, he is much more sadistic, and he is pretty smart out of there. Now, after the events of Black Ranger, essentially Finister is put in time out by Rita, but before she went on MIA, he's released. He went on into hiding on Earth and began using his newfound free time to refine his arts by kidnapping people, mainly 2 pilots, and who were doing some geological photography for the Prometheus program, or Promethea, as a part of their project for the VR tech company that there was being developed here. He tortured them, did various experiments on a single purpose to perfect his technique on creating monsters and the Putty Patrol. Now, that's way more sadistic than anything we got in that TV show. Now, he would, at this time, create perfect replicas and disguises for his Putty Patrol to be hide as humans and infiltrate the cities. His plan was caught by another one, Grace Sterling, who was a past ranger that does not trust Zordon at all, who requested the Power Rangers to help her and gave the location of his hideout using her advanced technology herself. And basically, in quick succession, he capturing the Red and Green Ranger. He and his army of putties monsters were defeated by the Frown Rangers, and he's oddly chose to surrender. Now, he observes Alpha and Saba working on tech to restore Zordon in his holding cell, and smiles when his human disguised monsters attack Toronto, implying he planned this attack way ahead of time. Like, he's much smarter than most people give him credit for. They thought he was just a quiet-mannered old goof. Well, no, he is pretty brainy. Now, Lord Zed would later break out Finister from jail and became his main monster maker after the Omega Rangers imprison Zed, and Zed's basically freed again. Once returned, he's impressed by his minions' immediately limited capacity, and chose Finister to become the new Dark Pink Ranger, which would be a pretty cool costume, and we do battle. Now, he is still going on there, but we have not seen him much in the comics currently. There is currently a new arc of the Altarian War. I hope to see more about him, but there's a lot more to go for the future of essentially Finister in this universe. Now, in an alternate universe, he is known as Finister 5, who is essentially a cyborg alien hybrid, mainly because of what's going on there with, essentially, he was grabbed by Lord Draken and merged with Alpha Bits and to create the perfect minion that would serve him. Now, that he still serves someone else. He doesn't serve Draken anymore, but he serves other people, and that is enough for another story entirely, because his story is much longer than this current story for Finister. Thank you, guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you have any more questions you have about Finister. There's a lot more on him. I just quickly do the quick synopsis and going from there. Thank you, guys. Have a good one. May the power protect you always.